Hey guys, Al Bigley here once again. I wanted to say thank you for your very kind responses to my previous cosplay how-to tutorials. And due to popular demand, I'm back. You asked for it. We're going to cover it. We're going to look at the cosplay I made of, you know who I'm thinking of. Help me out here. It's not Batman, not Spider-Man. It's not Captain America. Man, I am really in the dark here. See what I did there? Well, you asked for it, and this time we're going to cover the making of the Man Without Fear, Daredevil. So stick around and have some fun. Daredevil is another one of those characters I wanted to bring to life through cosplay. One of those big, iconic 60s and 70s characters. Very bold and striking. I mean, this guy is basically one color. You can't get much bolder and simpler and powerful than that. Of course, I'm going after the 60s and 70s Daredevil I grew up with, and wanted to go from there. The first thing I started looking around for was a mask or cowl. I found this wonderful cowl here, this wonderful over-the-head cowl. After some research, I found a wonderful creator that makes these. You'll see his name here down below in text. And this is pretty much what he made using shaped foam board. We talked about that before with my making of utility belts, things like that. The only thing I changed from his design was he had more rigid lenses. I'll detail what I put in there in a bit. But basically a bunch of shaped panels that are formed and glued into place. Luckily, this fit even my notoriously tiny head. It came with a simple chin strap to which I added a secure clickable buckle here. Also had to take a little length out of the chin strap to fit my tiny head. And you'll see that's just a buckle in there. No fuss, no muss. It just clicks like that. Very good. Now for the lenses, I wanted something that would give me good visibility as far as sight. See what I did there? So what I used was this simple automotive tint sheet. This is adhesive, basically tint for your blinkers, your backup lights on your automobile, on your car. It comes with two adhesive strips. One is a protective covering. One is the sticky backed covering. What I did was cut the eye shapes a little larger than they would be seen. Two eye shapes from this material. And I simply and lightly taped them into place inside the mask. Nothing fancy about that. They're lightly taped in there. Why are they not glued? Why are they not adhered better? Because this material is meant to be used flat. And if you start curling it too much, you're going to get ridges, you're going to get bumps. As you can see, those lenses are very, very smooth. They're curved, because that's just that sticky sheet material curved, that adhesive material. But they're staying nice and smooth, no bubbles, no ridges. The more you manipulate it and try to pin down corners, you're going to get those ridges and bubbles and tears. Very simple stuff. And you can see through it quite well. Of course, it tints your world bright red. Talk about looking at the world through rose-colored glasses. All right, let's try this on, shall we? Okay, as you saw with my TV Captain America cosplay and my various Batman cosplays, to make the look of the character complete, I'm using a balaclava, this time a dark red one that roughly matches the helmet. I forgot to mention some areas of the helmet have some lighter overcoats of lighter red, some are a bit darker, and I'll explain why I did this in just a bit when we talk about the costume. And also this fills in the lower jaw area. You know, in the comics, the whole cowl has the appearance of just one piece of cloth that gets yanked down over the head, much like Spider-Man's hood. But okay, this just slips over the head very carefully and easy. You put it in place like that. Yes, doing this without a mirror can be quite tough. You have to do this all by feel. But there we go. Very nice overall look. I can adjust how much of the balaclava is seen with the mask. Like that, I've got good visibility. Dude, that's not funny. Very little fogging goes on. Very tight fit. It's got a very tight fit. Even though it wasn't made specifically for my face, it adheres and kind of follows the contours of my face quite well. What's funny about this version of Daredevil is, of course, this is the Silver and Bronze Age Marvel Comics version. I have no real interest in the TV version. I call him Red Batman. This character was known for his wisecracking and his smiling, and he was sort of the poor man's Spider-Man, as they picked on him back then. So when I post images of this Daredevil smiling, younger fans are creeped out. They've never known a Daredevil that smiles and doesn't cry blood and wail at the heavens like Batman does. But a really good look. Even though vision, strangely, is fairly good in this cosplay. Yeah, I'm blind. We get it. We get it, okay? Yeah. Your hearing tends to get a bit muffled because this is a tight fit, like I said. And between this foam board and the balaclava, you feel like you're talking into a very large cotton-lined bell. Very strange. All right. Got to find that snap. And carefully comes off. And there we go. No worse for wear. All right, let's get right into talking about the costume.
Daredevil fight for you tonight. Daredevil fight for
All right, like so many of my other cosplays, I designed the bodysuit pattern, had it printed overseas. Here is the Daredevil bodysuit I designed. I really had a tough job ahead of me because I wanted to kind of replicate through the colors and the natural sheen of the Lycra Daredevil's 60s and 70s look, where it always appeared that he was wearing a costume made out of deep red silk or almost velour. You know, you had so many areas of shadows and highlights, especially the way Gene Colan drew him in the 60s and 70s. So I knew I had to do a lot of that through the shading, but I didn't want to do like comic book shading. I see that on some cosplay bodysuits. It's fine, but it just seems a little too much. It almost seems like it's just it's a too literal translation from 2D to 3D. So what I did, as you can see on my design, is just try to use some subtle muscle shading to represent those areas, going darker where you'd see natural shadows, going lighter where there would be highlights, especially standing directly under a light, and try to let that replicate that very dramatic shading the character was always depicted wrapped in. You can also see I took some liberties with the chest emblem, trying to make it a little more customized and exciting. And what I used was an interesting type of gradated dots for the shading too, to help give it some sense of texture or some sense of the suit being more than just a Lycra bodysuit this guy's wearing, even though, of course, that's what it is. All right, here's the actual costume. And you can see you get some natural sheen off that thanks to the light. And you can see some of that dot pattern gradation I was talking about right in there, both dark and light areas. And you'll notice too, it's not just one red. It starts with some lighter red. Those dot pattern shaded areas aren't black, but just a darker red. We're going to a darker maroon. And that's why I painted the helmet a few different shades of red to kind of go better with this uniform. Because it comes off as several shades. Light, dark. And that's really it. Simple zipper in the back, like all these things. Goes right up the back. To get this to look just right, it actually took me 2 different run-throughs. This first design came out just a bit dark and dull, not enough contrast. This is the first go-round, and it just came out a bit flat and a bit dark. Here's the second printing, the costume I just held up and showed you. Again, the pattern pops, the sheen and the light gloss of the costume helps it. And again, all the reds are not quite consistent, but hopefully that gives off the idea that the costume is always draped in some sort of shadow. It creates very high contrast reflections in areas of deep shadow and shading. All right, let's talk about the gloves. All right, all these are leather work gloves found either on Amazon or eBay. What I liked about these without needing any modifications is they're fairly short compared to most superhero gloves that always end just below the elbow. You know, Batman, Captain America, Green Lantern. And we're going to talk about why I continued that motif in the boots. Let's look at the boots now. Okay, here are the boots, once again found on eBay or Amazon. And sometimes you just luck up. I just searched Daredevil boots. Yes, I know the comic Daredevil never had these little front accoutrements on his boots. These little, hold on a minute. These little laces. Well, there's nothing little about them. But now you'll also notice I made these through some customization. Short too. These come up only, what was that, about 7 inches above the ankle? Because in the comics, one thing I loved about Daredevil's design was he had those shorter gloves and boots. They always kind of replicated what a boxer would use for sparring in the gym. And of course, Daredevil comes out of, I almost said the boxing arena. Daredevil's origin, of course, is involved with professional boxing. So they wore those short sparring boots with the laces, and they wore the short sparring gloves that only came up to about here on the arm, on the forearm. I always loved that about Daredevil. Now these, to make them shorter, I got crazy with the customization. I just pulled the flaps down, and they stay down once zipped. So sometimes the easiest customization is just you thinking in the most simple way. It's like what we learned in art school, the KISS theory. KISS stands for Keep It Simple, Stupid. And here are the trunks. Had a local seamstress make these, like she made the balaclava. Same material, slightly different shades of red to go with the rest of the costume, just worn over the Lycra bodysuit. But above the trunks, of course, is the belt and billy club. Something that makes Daredevil unique. Let's look at those items. Now you notice in some of my past cosplay creations. TV Captain America, some of the Batman iterations I've made, especially the 1939 Batman. I really kind of went crazy on making the belts, all of them made out of basically foam board, like Daredevil's helmet. And they're a little loud, they're a little bit attention-grabbing, a little ornate for the characters. Of course, Daredevil just has a thin strip of a belt. Its main function is to hold his holster and his billy club in place. So I tried to replicate that best I could. With his belt. Very thin, just a few inches tall. Just pieces of foam board. Gently taped together on the back side for flexibility. Again, keep it simple. Now I know his belt is not quite this ornate. It's got a belt buckle. But again, I wanted some different shades of red and maroon in there to help set the different reds of the costume off. Like that. Very simple. Velcro on the back. You just get this thing on. You Velcro it on. Velcro it in the back and you're good to go. All right, let's take a look at the holster. All right, here's Daredevil's holster. This billy club housing is what actually came with the billy club I ordered that you're about to see. Now, yes, it's square. In the comics, Daredevil has a round-shaped holder for the billy club. Basically, it mimics the round cylinder shape of the club. To loop it to my belt, again, this is just foam board. This just slides onto the belt, as we saw earlier. This is the strap that goes around his right leg, is it? Yes, or left leg. I just can't see it. Really? Comes around the leg. Comes around the leg, Velcro's right here in place. Nice snug fit. Just like that. Durable and rigid. It goes on his left leg, duh. And of course it just slips easily through the belt. I don't think I even bother to fasten it on the belt itself, because once it's fastened around the leg, you're good to go. And of course the leg strap again puts it in place as you need it. Hangs by my side. The billy club, as you're about to see, is quite heavy and has a tendency to pull the belt down. So you're seeing some of the pictures here. The Daredevil looks a bit like a Western gunslinger. Okay, let's talk about the billy club. Found online, they call this like a curb feeler. They call it a poker, a grabber. I think they've got to be creative with the name online because they don't want this used as a weapon. So they can't call it a billy club. They can't call it a club, really. But obviously I painted this red. What this did was, as you will see here, let me step back. It just does this. Just like that. A retractable arm. Again, it's supposed to be used as kind of a cane or a curb feeler. What I did was I modified it so by putting a little cap on it, everything stays in place no matter what. No matter how I hold it in the club holder, no matter how I present it, take it out, move it around. And how I did this was I took the top of a saline solution bottle and kind of molded it into something that was just the right height to go on the end of this club. Took a little forcing and gluing, but all of this upward is a saline solution, eye solution plastic bottle. So I can keep it capped, it's fine. I can uncap it, and out comes the extension. Just like Daredevil. Well, it depends on which version of Daredevil we're talking about. I know, of course, In some versions, he's got a rope that comes out of this that he can swing on. In the early days, he had different devices like Batman's utility belt in this thing. Sometimes he just throws it. The way Captain America throws his shield, knocks out bad guys. But a lot of fun. It's fairly heavy. It's about 1.5 pounds, 2 pounds. Doesn't sound heavy, but again, this is a metal instrument. Watch that brief moment in my video where I'm throwing the billy club. That's just a lightweight, rolled up piece of that red vinyl I showed you earlier. I was not about to throw that real heavy billy club across the room. Fits right in the billy club holder. Now, the problem is, because it is so heavy, when I would walk, this would rattle tremendously. So what I did was, I took two, keep it simple, right? I took two earplugs, super glued them in there, and they act as a little buffer and cushion for the club while it's resting inside. The simplest solutions, folks. Let's look at some pictures of the entire outfit and all its pieces and accessories working together. So there you have it. This was a lot of fun. Again, looks deceptively simple, but it took a while to build. Like with all my cosplays, a lot of trial and error, a lot of fixing and improving and upgrading, but it doesn't have to take a lot of money. Probably the most expensive thing here were the boots maybe and the billy club. We're talking $20. Of course, the bodysuit, getting that printed, is about $80. But this stuff doesn't have to be complicated. So I hope you liked what you saw. I hope it inspires you. If you have any questions, ask me. And if I can help, I certainly will. And I again appreciate your very kind words, the volume of people that have responded to these tutorials. It's been very exciting and very uplifting. And just go out and have fun and be creative. This is Al Bigley saying thank you for watching, and I'll see you soon.
Daredevil, fight for you tonight. Daredevil, fight for what is right. Daredevil, fight for you tonight. He is the one they call a man without fear. Never far away whenever danger's near.
Now that's just inappropriate.
Daredevil, fight for